Hey folks, my name is Pat Deegan, and in my early recovery, I thought I just had to sit there and wait for psychiatric medicine to make me better. That's what meds do. They cure mental illness, right? Wrong. Psychiatric meds don't cure mental illness. There's a whole lot more that we have to do in order to get to recovery, in order to actualize the life that we want for ourselves. But nobody told me that in the beginning, right? And I sort of had to stumble into that idea on my own. And here's the story of how that happened. I received something called a Sony Walkman. Now, a Sony Walkman at the time was a personal cassette player that played an analog tape on which you could mix all of your favorite tunes, okay? And I received it as a gift, and it had a personal headset that went with it, and wow, built-in AM/FM radio. I loved this Sony Walkman, right? And one day I was hearing these really distressing voices again. Even though I was taking my pill medicine, I was still hearing these nasty voices. And I reached for my Sony Walkman, and I put on the headset, and I began listening to some of my favorite tunes. And to my surprise, the voices started to diminish. Started to diminish because I was listening to music that interested me. And I was amazed by this. I felt like the ground shook underneath my feet, right? Because, wow, there was something I could do that made a difference in my experience of these distressing voices. No one had ever told me before that there was something I could do, right? So I began to experiment with that, and I would listen to a baseball game on the radio and see if that would help when the voices were getting difficult. And lo and behold, I began to develop some skills. What I ended up calling this was I began to discover my personal medicine. Not my pill medicine, my personal medicine. Personal medicines are non-pharmaceutical things that we do, acts of self-care, that help us feel better, that help us achieve our goals. And so for me, using that Walkman became a way to manage these tough voices. And over time, I developed many, many other types of personal medicine that helped me manage these distressing voices. So personal medicine is part of the recovery process. And for most of us, finding the right balance between any medication we may take and our personal medicine, the things we do, opens up the pathway to the life that we want to live. Now, one of the things that's very exciting about personal medicine is that nobody can prescribe personal medicine for me or for you. Personal medicine comes from within us. It comes from the healer within us. It comes from the natural resilience within us, right? And what this means is that we don't always have to look outside of ourselves for the answers. That sometimes that wisdom lives within us, okay? And it can be hugely wonderful to discover that we're still resilient people, even though we may have a diagnosis, right? So personal medicine is powerful medicine. Medicine can be what we do, not just what we take.